leads by example and just makes everyone around him better. Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Hallam.
This on? I did write that recommendation myself, so that's... okay, sorry, let's open this up. Okay, next. That doesn't look like that one. There we go, there I am, looking like an estate agent. So I've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to essentially think of this as a shot of espresso. I'm going to rattle through a whole load of employee experience kind of stuff related to intranets. Talk to you a little bit about Interact ourselves. So, next one. There we go. So we work with lots of different companies, so SMEs, large enterprises, essentially probably 1,000 different organizations. We are a SaaS intranet platform, so everything that I'm going to talk to you about today is coming from actual client examples with our clients. But our platform really is an employee experience platform that drives productivity and engagement. And with offices across the US, the UK, we've got global clients, so hopefully I'm going to pick on a few areas of that client base. Essentially, our mission is to inform and connect every organization's greatest asset, your people. I think there's probably never a more relevant time to be raising these sort of issues, and heard some very interesting talks earlier, again, bringing in sort of wellness, mental health, etc. Now, the interesting thing is talking about internet software supporting employee experience. Now, in all my years of doing this, I've never come across a single organization that has their head of employee experience on the board, so I think there is still room to grow. However, I would say it is a C-suite and senior executive agenda item. I'll just go through. So the first area I'm going to talk about is, well, how do you engage offline and remote workers? We work with a lot of retail, healthcare, public services, etc. So again, some of these examples are coming from, obviously, our clients. And first of all, there is a number of challenges that we typically see. So the first one there, actually getting frontline workers to engage can be very difficult. You don't need to be a genius to know that a multi-channel approach is useful, but actually there's another aspect of actually using something like digital signage. So not just thinking about multi-channel, but also multi-touch as well. The next one there, mobile adoption. A lot of times we actually find that getting your frontline workers to actually use their mobile phones can be very tricky. So in actually trying to get a mobile app strategy, if you will, to understand the personalization, because I can guarantee you, if you make the app the easiest and quickest way for a frontline worker to book time off, I guarantee you that's how they'll book time off and they'll use it. So in building those core user journeys into that can be a great way of building that out. The next one there is employees working in silos. Actually, this is probably the most common thing that we get in frontline workers, organizations. And the interesting thing is a lot of those frontline workers can have great personalities, they work in teams, they love a bit of banter and a bit of fun. So actually understanding how you can pull a bit of social in, or what channels are they currently using to actually pull in, can be a great way of getting them involved and included as well. So I've just gone through some of those answers. You've actually got the slightly older deck than the newer deck, but that's fine. So again, I've touched on some of those. Now, interestingly, here, if we go to some of those channels, obviously mobile and push notifications, SMS is obvious. The thing I was just alluding to there, digital signage, if you've got receptions, if you've got communal areas, staff areas, actually having screens up where you can get other messaging out there and even have QR codes that people can then take the photo and then go off to whatever that message is another touch point. So it's not just multi-channel multi-channel, it's multi-touch point. And also the marketplace there is really talking about, well, including Slack and Teams and WhatsApp or whatever it may be that they're using as their IM sort of service, bring that in as well. Because again, your intranet needs to be that single channel through which users access anything and everything that they need. The first example here is Domino's. All familiar with Domino's, but maybe not familiar that it's a very large organization, 400,000 franchised employees. What Domino's was very good at was mapping out, well, how are different types of users using different devices through different channels. They do a lot of pulse surveys, and 50 webinars in 6 months might sound quite a lot, but when you consider that 90% of the franchisees become franchisees from being a driver, actually that whole journey from a path of career to becoming an owner is really baked into it. So actually, from the ground up, those frontline workers become the owners and the employers and the managers for the future. The next example here is the Co-op. 3,500 employees across 50 branches. Now, interestingly, their approach was, this will be our digital home. Like we're walking into the office, we're going to walk into this online environment. And they really thought about the structuring of the corporate messaging, the operational updates, again, personalized for different user groups, then news and blogs, and then actually giving users the ability to pull through content that they find more interesting, not just what the organization thinks they should have, but what they find more interesting. A really interesting thing about the Co-op is that they run pulse surveys that ask 3 questions. The first question is an ENPS question, which is essentially, would you recommend working here? The second one is an emoji saying, actually, how is work impacting your well-being and mental health? And the third one is essentially an open free text. And they see regularly about 40% participation with 300, comments per month, which is actually quite a lot if you were ever to benchmark that across other organizations. And I shall miss that one, go on to the next one, which is crisis communications. Now, crisis communications can be a number of things. Some of the key things that we typically find is the crisis communications is, it's time sensitive. So if 9 o'clock tonight, Boris Johnson goes on TV and says actually some COVID regulations are changing, and tomorrow morning people are going to do things differently, how are you going to get that out to different audiences? So really having the ability for real-time broadcast and targeted comms is almost the only way of managing those critical comms and getting it out either as a text, a notification, an email, whatever that is to those different groups. The next one there is striking the right balance. It's really easy for your company to send out lots of notifications and alerts, but actually, if your phone just keeps pinging and dinging with lots of things, you become desensitized. So actually defining and mapping out, well, what's an alert, what's an emergency, what's an update, and then mapping that out. So how are we going to communicate that through what channel, in what way, is a way that we found can help solve that issue. And the next one is, well, if you're sending out this messaging, well, how on earth do you know if it's being looked at, is being accessed? And this comes down to, do you have the right analytics in the back end that helps you measure, actually, is this making any difference? And the use of mandatory reads, so managing compliance across your organization by making certain content mandatory so you can then see who has and hasn't been compliant with that particular message. And there we go, I've already been through that. Now the first one, and I couldn't really go through crisis communications without mentioning the NHS. So NHS South West, London, services probably thick end of 2 million people. And the interesting thing they were doing was they were running pulse surveys and obviously finding that a lot of those frontline NHS workers were finding things pretty tough. From the findings of that, they developed one-to-one wellbeing checks and made all their staff meetings virtual. So actually, again, giving people a bit of time back and making it easier rather than, obviously, you couldn't necessarily over COVID have or want to have huge team meetings. One of the outputs of that was actually they created this health and wellbeing network. And again, as the previous speaker sort of mentioned, finding things outside of work, whether it be dance, walking, art, whatever it is. So created these groups and facilitated it all through their intranet to help people, again, get over the difficulties of what they're going through using COVID. The next one here is Alexander Mann, a global workforce solutions company. Now, interestingly, within 48 hours of Russia invading Ukraine, I did say invade, that they had created a full sub-site which acted for their 7,000 users as that aggregation, that news as to what is going on. So they actually took the responsibility as an organisation themselves to help collate and aggregate everything that's going on, and also what efforts they were making to try and help the people of Ukraine. And if you remember anything off these last 10 minutes, with a couple of minutes remaining, it's this next bit, is that the CEO regularly uses it to post and comment and send out content and emails through their intranet. Okay, the last one, and this is a bit of a whistle-stop talk, I appreciate. So, impactful DE&I strategies. Again, some of the key issues that we typically found, and this was touched on by the previous speaker as well, is authenticity. It is very obvious to us when we speak to prospective clients if this is a bit of a tick-boxing exercise, if it's kind of been added on. I would put money on that within your organisation there are people doing something, whether it's some sort of charity work, helping someone do something. Find those people, promote those people, inspire other people by bringing that to the front and using your intranet as that hub, that central place to really celebrate those people and see what else can happen from there. The next one is sensitivity. It can be difficult, so making one size fits all can be pretty tricky. Having a more tailored approach to comms, so again, you can talk to different groups in different ways, can make a big difference. But essentially making it, I guess, how do you create open and two-way communications? Well, having a system, having a means that enables users to comment, to share. If you're like me, I probably won't post too much on Facebook. If I like something, I'll like it. And so there are a lot of people that actually it might just be that liking that gets them involved as well. So, as you can see here, the next example, that I'll start on this one actually, is Alliance & Bernstein. They are an asset management company. And the interesting thing about these guys is they have hard-baked DE&I into their organisation. They promote everything through their intranet. They actually have news diversity champions, so they give out awards to people that are talking about and writing articles or blogs about this type of content. They also have employee resource groups so everything is a digital home, everything has a home within that home, and these employee resource groups are a place for those groups to really express themselves either through forums, but have a voice as well. And as you saw here, the other thing reinforcing this is it comes from the top. Seth Bernstein, the CEO, really does hard bake this into everything they do. There is no tick boxing involved with these guys. So that is pretty much it. What I would like to say is do come and see us. We're downstairs. We don't bite, well, unless you want to be bitten. We do have our own Interact Live event where we get, again, a very large room of HR comms, tech, employee engagement together. Tuesday the 14th of June, we also have, it's not just us talking, we have Sam Marshall from Clearbox, Henry Rose Lee, a future work specialist, Nicholas Wardle, co-author of Monetizing the Employee Experience. We're also giving away £200 Airbnb, so fill in that, drop that in. And if you want to talk about this in any more detail, come and find us. This was supposed to be a little teaser and to maybe sort of throw a few ideas out there. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.